All right. Are you ready to become a communication superstar? Because today we are diving deep into How to Talk to Absolutely Anyone by Mark Rhodes.
Oh yeah, this one's packed with good stuff.
And I know you devoured this one. I mean, you practically inhaled it.
Well, it's really practical. Rhodes gives us a framework, almost like a roadmap to navigate any social situation.
Okay, so map out this deep dive for us.
So this deep dive is all about helping you feel confident, starting those conversations, really connecting with people, and even handling those tricky interactions that we all dread.
Oh, yeah.
Like the foundation of Rhodes's whole approach is tackling fear head on.
Mm-hmm.
He argues that it's not a lack of skills, it's fear that usually holds us back from connecting with others.
It's so true. You ever psyched yourself out before a big presentation or even just going up to someone at a party?
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Rhodes suggests we kind of reframe that feeling.
Okay.
Instead of thinking, I'm scared, I'm excited.
Ooh, I like that.
Just a subtle shift, but it can change your whole energy.
So it's like turning nervous energy into positive anticipation.
Exactly. And for those times when the fear feels just totally overwhelming,
Hmm.
Rhodes introduces this thing called the SUD scale. It's a tool where you rate your fear level, like on a scale of 1 to 10. This helps you measure your progress as you work on reducing your fear.
Okay, so in practice, what would that look like?
So let's say you are terrified of public speaking, you rate your fear at an 8,
Mm-hmm.
you start practicing, maybe you join a Toastmasters group or something. As you gain experience, maybe your fear decreases to a 6.
Right.
The SUD scale just helps you track those wins, see how far you've come.
I love that because then it becomes measurable. It's not about completely eradicating fear, but about making it manageable. And
Exactly.
like you said, making progress. Now, what about the fear of rejection? I feel like that one follows us all around, right?
Yeah, and Rhodes makes this powerful distinction. He says, it's not us being rejected, but our ideas or approach.
Oh, okay.
This kind of takes the sting out of it.
So it's like separating your sense of worth from the outcome of the interaction.
Exactly.
Hey,
And let's be honest, sometimes those awkward moments make for the best stories later.
so true. So true. It's all about perspective.
Exactly.
All right, so we've tackled the fear factor. Now, how do we actually start talking to people? Where do we even begin?
Rhodes breaks down communication into these 4 clear stages,
Okay.
much like a marketing campaign. He calls these the 4 stages of interaction.
Interesting. So we're talking strategy here, not just random small talk.
Yeah, it's strategic, not just, hey, how are ya?
Right.
Stage 1 is all about knowing your desired outcome before you even start talking.
Hmm.
What do you want to achieve with this interaction?
Okay, so it's like having a mini mission statement for each conversation. It helps you stay focused and avoid rambling.
Yes, exactly.
Like that.
It's also crucial to kind of address those unspoken questions that the other person might have
Hmm.
when you approach them. Why are you talking to them? What do you
Yeah.
want? By addressing these unspoken questions, you're removing that initial awkwardness and making them feel more at ease.
Totally. I can see how that would lead to a smoother interaction.
Right. And this framework can be applied to various situations. Rhodes even gives specific tips for that awkward elevator ride.
Ooh, yes. The dreaded elevator silence.
Right.
How do we break it?
So, like a simple observation, something like, wow, this lift is taking its time today.
Yeah.
It can work wonders.
Right.
It acknowledges the shared experience without forcing a deep conversation.
It's like dipping your toe in the pool before you cannonball in.
Yeah, exactly.
Love that. Okay, so you started chatting. How do you keep them interested?
So this is stage 2, creating curiosity and interest. Rhodes highlights the power of telling stories
Mm-hmm.
and asking thought-provoking questions.
Okay.
For example, instead of asking, what would you do if you won the lottery?
Right.
Ask, what would winning the lottery do for you?
Oh, I like that. It shifts the focus from the material gain to the underlying desires.
Exactly.
More insightful. It's a much deeper conversation starter.
Yeah. And stories aren't just for entertainment either. They help us connect on a deeper level. Rhodes often uses anecdotes to illustrate his points, like the story about the client who doubted his ability to talk to strangers until Rhodes demonstrated it right there in a restaurant.
I love that. Actions speak louder than words, right? It's one thing to talk about confidence. It's another to actually show it. Okay, we've got them interested. How do we move beyond that superficial chit-chat to truly connect?
So that's stage 3, making a connection and being understood.
Hmm.
Active listening is paramount here.
Hmm.
It's not just about hearing words, but understanding the feelings behind them.
Right. There's a big difference between like waiting for your turn to talk and genuinely taking in what they're saying.
Exactly.
Yeah. How does Rhodes suggest we become better listeners?
He emphasizes paying attention to their key criteria words.
Oh.
These are the words they use, like repeatedly, to describe their experiences and feelings. If someone keeps saying amazing or frustrating,
Hmm.
you want to mirror those words back to them in your responses.
Okay, so it's like validating their perspective and showing that you're on the same wavelength. I can see how that would build rapport.
Exactly.
Okay. What else can we do to show we're really listening?
Eye contact is crucial, but we often break eye contact when we're thinking of like what to say next.
Right.
Rhodes suggests slowing down your speech or pausing briefly,
Yeah.
even if you need a moment to like gather your thoughts. It shows that you're still engaged.
Oh, such a subtle but powerful tip. It's about staying present in the conversation, not mentally rehearsing your next line.
Right.
Now, stage 4 is about getting them to take action, right? Like, it sounds like this is where you're kind of guiding them towards your desired outcome.
Exactly. And enthusiasm is like contagious.
Okay, but what if you're not like a natural enthusiastic person? How do you like pump up the volume?
Well, think about what motivates you. Are you driven by avoiding pain or like moving towards pleasure? Figure out what motivates the other person and frame your language accordingly.
So it's about tapping into their desires
Yeah.
and showing them how your proposal or whatever you're talking about will benefit them.
Exactly.
And what about those times when you need to get someone to commit to something specific?
Well, instead of open-ended questions like, want to meet next week?
Right.
Try offering limited choices.
Okay.
Like, would Tuesday or Wednesday work better for you?
Oh, it's the power of suggestion. I love it.
Exactly.
You're creating the expectation of action.
Yes.
Okay, before we jump into mastering your voice, which I'm super curious about, what's resonating with you most so far?
Honestly, the emphasis on preparation, it's not just about being charming or like quick-witted. It's about having a clear goal for the conversation and planning your approach.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's that intentionality that
Mhm.
makes you feel much more confident and in control. Now, let's talk about how we can use our voices to create like a powerful impact.
Okay, so Rose reminds us that our voice is an instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Tonality, speed, pauses, inflection. It all influences how our message is received.
It's like the soundtrack to our words, right?
Yes.
Adds another layer of meaning and emotion. How can we use our voices more effectively?
Think about it. When you're listening to like a captivating speaker,
Mm-hmm.
they're not just droning on in a monotone.
Right, they've got that cadence.
Yeah. They're varying their pitch, using pauses for emphasis, and just injecting emotion into their delivery. We can do the same in our everyday conversations.
So it's about being mindful of how we're using our voice to create the desired effect.
Right. And sometimes, even with the best communication skills, you'll encounter those like tricky situations.
Totally.
And Rhodes doesn't shy away from those. He provides all these helpful scripts for navigating difficult conversations.
Like those times when someone throws a negative comment your way or asks you something you'd really rather not answer. How do we handle those gracefully?
Okay, so if someone says something negative, respond with a calm. That's interesting.
Okay.
It disarms them and kind of prevents the situation from escalating.
Oh, that's a good tip.
Yeah.
It avoids getting sucked into their negativity. Keeps you in control. It's about responding, not reacting.
Yes.
Now, what about those prying questions you just want to deflect?
Acknowledge it's a sensitive subject and then redirect the conversation. You can say, that's a really personal question and I'm not comfortable discussing it right now. But hey, what have you been up to lately?
It's smooth.
Yeah.
It politely shuts it down while keeping the conversation flowing. These are such helpful techniques for navigating like interpersonal minefields.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Conquering fear, mastering our voice, handling difficult conversations. Before we move on, what else is standing out to you about these initial stages of interaction?
It's that while Rhodes provides these frameworks, he also emphasizes being adaptable and responsive to the individual you're interacting with. You know, it's not about rigidly following a script. It's about using these tools as a guide to creating genuine connections.
Such an important point. It's about being present in the moment, adjusting our approach based on the other person's cues and their energy.
Yeah.
It's about human connection, not some robotic interaction.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's take a deeper dive into some more of Rhodes's techniques.
You know, it's fascinating how much our body language impacts communication. Rhodes talks about this idea of owning your environment,
Okay.
not like in an aggressive way, but
Yeah.
by projecting confidence and openness.
I'm intrigued. So how do we own our environment without, being overbearing?
Well, think about it. Who are you more likely to approach at a party? Someone hunched over their phone or someone standing tall, making eye contact and smiling?
Oh, definitely the person who looks approachable.
Right. They're sending those come talk to me vibes. And there are simple ways to project that welcoming energy. Like stand a little wider, place your hands on your hips. Even stretching a bit can signal that you're comfortable and open to interacting.
It's like sending out those nonverbal invitations to chat.
Exactly.
So instead of clinging to the wall at a networking event, I should try owning the space by actively engaging with people.
Yeah. And this ties into the idea of like mental frames,
Mm-hmm.
how we perceive the relationship between ourselves and others.
Okay.
Are they superior? Are we equals? These frames are mental constructs,
Yeah.
and we can choose how we perceive the relationship.
So instead of feeling intimidated by my boss, I could choose to view them as someone I could have an open and productive conversation with.
Exactly. And one technique to kind of shift that frame is to visualize someone you do feel comfortable with.
Okay.
Like imagine them standing between you and the other person, like borrowing their confidence.
Oh, that's brilliant. I'm going to try that one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Okay, so let's talk about those first few moments of interaction. Approaching someone can feel so awkward.
It can, and it's easy to overthink it. Rose emphasizes not approaching someone from behind.
Okay.
It can startle them and make them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, like you're sneaking up on them.
Right. Approach them from the side, whether you're both facing the same direction or not. It feels like less confrontational, more like you're joining their space.
Okay.
Mhm.
So it's about being respectful of their personal space and not making them feel trapped. What about once you've got their attention?
A genuine smile and good eye contact can go a long way.
Mm-hmm.
They instantly create warmth and openness.
Yeah, a simple smile can be so disarming.
Hmm.
Okay, what about those times when someone just isn't receptive? Maybe they give you the cold shoulder or just seem totally disinterested. How do you handle that?
Well, remember, it's probably not personal. They might be having a bad day, preoccupied with something, or just not in a chatty mood.
It's so easy to internalize that and think, oh, they don't like me.
Right. But it probably has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
So pay attention to their cues, their body language, facial expressions, and what they're doing at that moment. If someone's got their headphones on and is like furiously typing, it's probably not the best time to strike up a conversation.
Yeah, unless it's an emergency.
Yeah. But if you do need to talk to them, wait for a natural break, like when they look up or pause what they're doing.
Okay, so it's about being mindful and respectful of their time and energy.
Yes.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty of starting a conversation. Knowing what to say can feel so daunting.
Yeah.
What does Rhodes suggest?
So he categorizes opening statements into like a few types: situational, observational, opinion, advice, and assistance.
Okay, break those down for me.
All right, so situational is based on the environment you're both in,
Okay.
commenting on the long line at the coffee shop or the amazing speaker at the conference.
Mm-hmm. Like acknowledging a shared experience, creating a sense of connection.
Exactly. An observational opening is similar, but it focuses on a specific detail. Maybe someone's wearing a cool t-shirt or you notice they're struggling with something.
Right, but you're not just pointing it out. You're kind of acknowledging why you're mentioning it.
Yeah.
That's a really cool t-shirt. I'm a big fan of that band myself.
Exactly.
So it removes that element of mystery and makes your intention clear.
You got it. Now, an opinion and advice opening is where you seek their input on something, asking for a book recommendation in a bookstore or directions.
Mm-hmm. It appeals to our desire to be helpful, so it's a great way to start a conversation with someone who seems like they know what they're talking about.
Exactly.
Okay.
And finally, assistance opening is simply offering help if you see someone struggling with, like, their groceries or something.
A kind gesture that can naturally lead to conversation.
Yes.
I love that. Okay, we got our opening lines, but then how do we keep the conversation flowing? I feel like that's where a lot of people struggle.
Rhodes talks about pacing their reality, which essentially means meeting them where they are, like mentally and emotionally.
Okay, I think this is important, but I'm not sure I fully grasp it. Can you give me an example?
Okay, so like you're at a networking event and you ask someone, how was your weekend?
Mm-hmm.
They reply, oh, it was good. We went to the cinema. A lot of people would then just hijack the conversation and launch into their own weekend activities.
Oh, I've been guilty of that. It's like you're waiting for your turn to talk instead of actually listening and engaging with what they're saying.
Exactly. But to build rapport, we need to stay focused on them. Ask about the movie, how busy the cinema was, anything that encourages them to elaborate on their experience.
Yeah, that shows you're genuinely interested, not just waiting to jump in with your own story.
Right. And once you've kind of established that rapport, you can gradually steer the conversation where you want it to go. But it starts with meeting them where they are.
It's like building a conversational bridge. You start from their side of the river and gradually work your way across.
Yes, exactly.
I love that analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm starting to see how all these techniques work together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about moving beyond, like, typical small talk, you know?
Yes. Get past the weather and find out what they're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
Then ask them about that.
Oh, let their enthusiasm fuel the conversation. I love that. Speaking of enthusiasm, Rhodes shares this interesting anecdote about striking up a conversation with a homeless man at a coffee shop.
Yes. That story perfectly illustrates the power of challenging your assumptions. So instead of seeing a homeless person, Rhodes saw a human being with a story.
Right. He chose to approach the situation with curiosity rather than judgment. And
Yeah.
that simple shift in perspective led to a really meaningful exchange.
It's a powerful reminder that we can connect with anyone if we approach them with genuine curiosity and respect.
It's about seeing the person behind the label. Now, we've talked a lot about active listening, but it's more than just being quiet while someone talks, right?
Oh, absolutely. Active listening is about engaging with what they're saying, asking clarifying questions, and just truly making them feel heard and understood.
Mhm.
In fact, Rhodes cites a study where customers who left the store without buying anything were asked why they hadn't made a purchase.
Yeah.
And a whopping 90% of them said the salesperson didn't understand their needs.
Yeah.
Yeah, they felt like their concerns and desires weren't being heard.
It's not enough to just go through the motions.
Yeah.
You have to truly listen to understand, not just to respond.
Right. And this applies to all kinds of interactions, not just sales.
Mhm.
Whether you're talking to a colleague, a friend, or even a stranger, that sense of being understood is crucial for building a genuine connection.
So how do we make sure that we're coming across as understanding? What are some tangible steps we can take?
So Rose talks about the importance of identifying what's truly important to the other person, their motivations and values.
Mm-hmm. So it's about figuring out what makes them tick and then tailoring your communication to, like, resonate with those values.
Yes. For example, let's say you're trying to encourage 2 employees to attend this training workshop on, like, developing a winning mindset. One employee is motivated by, like, knowledge and self-improvement, while the other is more driven by, like, financial success.
Mm-hmm.
You would adjust your pitch based on their individual motivations.
So you'd tell the first employee that the workshop will give them more knowledge about success than 99% of the world's population,
Right.
while the second employee might be more interested in learning skills that could boost their income.
Exactly. You're speaking their language.
Mhm.
And remember those key criteria words we talked about. Pay attention to those and use them in your responses. It creates a sense of resonance and shows you're on the same wavelength.
It's like building a conversational bridge using their own vocabulary.
Yes. But we also have to remember that words can have different meanings to different people.
Well, totally. So it's not just about parroting back their words, but about understanding the underlying meaning and emotion behind them.
Exactly.
Now, what about those times when you're asked a question, but you kind of go off on a tangent and don't actually answer it?
We've all been there. Rhodes suggests incorporating their original question into your answer.
Okay.
It shows you heard them and that you are directly addressing their inquiry.
It's a simple but effective way to show you're being attentive and respectful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't underestimate the power of using their name.
Okay.
It personalizes the interaction and shows you're paying attention. But don't overdo it.
Right.
You don't want to sound like a cheesy used car salesman.
Exactly.
Now, another aspect of building rapport is mirroring the other person's communication style, particularly their speed of talking.
Mm-hmm.
Within reason, of course. You don't want to end up in a speed talking competition.
Right.
But the idea is to kind of find a rhythm that feels comfortable for both of you.
Oh, it's like finding that conversational flow.
Exactly.
Now, earlier you mentioned that we often break eye contact when we're thinking of what to say next.
Right.
What's the issue with that?
It can make the other person feel like you're not fully present in the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you need a moment to, like, gather your thoughts, try slowing down your speech, or pausing briefly while maintaining eye contact.
So it's about showing them that you're still engaged, even if you need a beat to process.
Exactly.
That's great advice. Okay, so we've talked about the importance of responding, not reacting. Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Think of it this way. A reaction is often like impulsive
Mm,
and driven by emotion,
yeah.
whereas a response is more thoughtful and considered. So if someone criticizes your work, your initial reaction might be to get defensive.
Hmm.
But if you take a moment to pause, consider their perspective, and then respond thoughtfully, you're more likely to have a productive conversation.
Right. It's about choosing your words carefully rather than just blurring out the first thing that comes to mind, because sometimes that requires a bit of like mental reframing, right?
Exactly. Rhodes suggests asking yourself this. Given what I know about the situation and what the other person has been through, how would I feel in this moment? What sorts of things would I be thinking?
It's about putting yourself in their shoes,
Yeah.
trying to understand their perspective,
Hmm.
and that empathy can make a world of difference in how we respond. Okay, we've covered a lot when it comes to building rapport and understanding.
Yeah.
But even with the best communication skills, we're all bound to face those difficult conversations.
Oh, absolutely. Whether it's delivering critical feedback, negotiating a raise, or having a tough conversation with a friend, those situations are inevitable.
Yeah, and they can be so uncomfortable.
Mm.
But Rhodes doesn't leave us hanging. He provides some strategies for navigating those choppy waters.
Yeah, one technique is to focus on the problem, not the person. So instead of saying you're always late, you
Right.
might say the frequent lateness has been impacting the team's productivity.
Oh, that's a great example. It depersonalizes the issue and makes it easier to have a constructive conversation,
Exactly.
and it prevents the other person from getting defensive, which can quickly derail things.
Right. And if you do need to deliver criticism, Rhodes recommends the sandwich technique.
Oh, I've heard of this. It's where you start with a positive, deliver the negative feedback, and then end on another positive.
Yes, exactly. It helps soften the blow and makes the other person more receptive to your message.
So it's like saying, hey, I see your strengths, but here's something we need to work on. I believe you have the potential to improve.
Yeah,
Much more encouraging than just focusing on the negative.
right. Now, for those like tricky work situations like missed deadlines or subpar work, Rose provides specific scripts for addressing them effectively.
Ooh, I'm curious to hear about those. Can you walk me through an example?
Okay, so let's say a team member repeatedly misses deadlines. Instead of like getting angry or frustrated,
Mm.
start by acknowledging their efforts and then express your concern. You could say something like, I appreciate all the hard work you've been putting in, but I'm concerned about the recent deadlines that haven't been met.
Yeah, it's a much more empathetic approach. You're not attacking them, you're expressing your concern and opening the door for dialogue.
Right. And then you can move into like exploring the reasons behind the missed deadlines and like collaboratively finding solutions.
So it shifts the focus from blame to problem solving.
Exactly.
Totally. I like that.
And when it comes to delegating tasks, Rhodes stresses setting clear expectations from the get-go.
Hmm.
That way, there's no room for misinterpretation.
It's about laying the groundwork for success,
Yeah.
ensuring everyone's on the same page. Now, what about those awkward conversations around money, like asking for a raise or chasing a late payment? Those can be so nerve-wracking.
They can be, but Rose encourages us to be direct, respectful, and prepared.
Okay.
When asking for a raise, be clear about what you want and why you deserve it. And like back it up with evidence of your accomplishments and contribution.
Data is your friend.
Yes. It's hard to argue with facts and figures.
Exactly, exactly. Now, what about when you encounter resistance? Let's say a client objects to a proposal or a colleague pushes back on an idea. How do you handle that gracefully without getting defensive or shutting down the conversation?
Okay, Rhodes has a brilliant technique for this. Acknowledge the resistance and then ask, if that weren't a problem, would you then be willing to move forward?
Oh, that's interesting. It's like bypassing their initial objection to get to the heart of the matter.
Exactly. And it often reveals their true concerns,
Okay.
which you can then address directly.
So it's about peeling back the layers to uncover the real obstacle.
Exactly.
Okay. Now, what about those times when you're asked a question that you'd rather not answer? Maybe it's too personal or you just don't feel comfortable discussing it. How do you gracefully deflect?
Acknowledge that it's a sensitive subject and then redirect the conversation. You could say, that's a really personal question and I'm not comfortable discussing it right now, but hey, tell me about something else.
Okay, so it's a polite way to shut down the unwanted inquiry while keeping the conversation flowing.
Yeah.
These are such helpful strategies for handling conversations that can feel like walking through a minefield.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this part. When it comes to building rapport, understanding, and handling those difficult conversations, before we move on to our final thoughts, is there anything else about these specific techniques that stands out to you?
One thing that strikes me is, like, even with the best techniques, not every conversation will be perfect.
That's actually reassuring. It takes the pressure off.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we wrap up our deep dive into these specific techniques,
Hmm.
what are some key takeaways that our listeners can start applying today?
For me, it's the reminder that communication is a skill that can be learned and improved upon.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about being born with a silver tongue. It's about being intentional, prepared, and willing to practice.
I agree, and adaptable.
Yes.
Every interaction is different, so we need to be able to read the room,
Hmm.
adjust our approach, respond to the other person's cues.
Right. And remember, it's not about, like, manipulating people or getting them to do what you want. It's about connecting with them authentically and building genuine relationships.
Beautifully said. All right, let's move on to our final thoughts and wrap up this conversation. Wow, it's like we've been handed this incredible toolkit for becoming better communicators.
Yeah. And like any tool, the more you use it,
Mm-hmm.
the more comfortable and proficient you become.
So it's not about like becoming some master manipulator or something. It's about using these techniques authentically to really connect with people.
Exactly. It's about building rapport, understanding each other, and creating meaningful interactions.
Now, before we wrap up, I'm curious about one thing that Rhodes mentions. He talks about the importance of being aware of the other person's emotional state.
Oh, that's such a crucial point.
Yeah,
We can't always know what someone's going through, but we can be sensitive to their energy and adjust our approach accordingly.
so it's like reading the room, but on an individual level.
Right. If someone seems withdrawn or down, you probably don't want to launch into your most enthusiastic pitch.
Yeah, it's about meeting them where they are emotionally
Exactly.
and maybe gently trying to shift the mood to a more positive place.
Exactly. It's about being empathetic and responsive to their cues.
This deep dive has been a whirlwind of insights. I feel like I've learned so much about approaching conversations with confidence and really building those genuine connections.
Me too. And remember, the goal isn't to become some smooth-talking expert.
No.
It's about using these tools to enhance our everyday interactions and just enrich our lives through those connections.
Beautifully said. Now, here's something to think about as you go forth and, communicate with the world.
Okay.
Rhodes emphasizes that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is simply listen without judgment.
Mhm.
Just be present with the other person and let them know they're heard.
That's so powerful. Sometimes we don't need to have all the answers or offer solutions.
Right.
We just need to listen with empathy and understanding.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
go out there, start conversations, practice those active listening skills, and remember to own your environment.
Yes.
You never know what amazing connections you might make.
Happy communicating.